Hello everyone, thank you for coming today. Thank you for your taking the time to watch my video. In this opportunity, I'm Jhon Vetra Sirait with student identification number 7056200008 from Management Study Program Universitas Negeri Jakarta. In this opportunity, I'm proud to present to you about my thesis proposal. This thesis proposal is part of the requirement for obtaining a bachelor degree in management at Universitas Negeri Jakarta. The title of my thesis proposal is The Effect of Capital Structure, Liquidity, and Tangibility, Analysis of Financial Building, Construction Sector Companies listed on the IDX during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my thesis proposal presentation this time is divided into three parts. In the first part, I will explain to you about introduction of my thesis proposal. The second part, I will explain to you about literature review. And the last part, I will explain to you about research method about my thesis proposal. Okay, the first introduction. Research background from my thesis proposal is the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a decline in property sales due to a focus on health. However, as restriction is entering 20 and 21, and with the relaxation of the enforcement of restriction on community activities or PPKM, the performance of property companies is expected to improve. As seen as in the table and the figure on the side in my PPT, based on the table above it is evident that company in the building construction subsector, despite being affected by COVID-19, have the potential to stabilize and recover. In 2020, the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the average profit per company was at its lowest compared to profit before and after COVID-19. This indicates the impact of these companies. One possible reason for the use of external funds by construction subsector companies is to maintain business and financial stability. The construction subsector continues to operate by implementing health protocol and strategies to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic, ensuring no significant drop-off in both business and financial performance. Sugianto 2020. This also impacts investors who have or intend to invest in companies in the construction subsector. The pandemic has significantly influenced companies' behavior in managing corporate funds. The following is a graph, the visiting asset utilization based on the debt owned by construction subsector companies, PT SCST and PT EDI. Figure 1.1 DRR, debt to asset ratio of PT ICST and PT ADHI for the year 2019 until 2021. According to the graph, there is a difference in the DAR ratio between PTHST and PTADHI. The researchers provide an overview for the years 2019 until 2021, referred to as the transition period before and after the COVID-19 pandemic. It is the PTHST mostly maintains a good DAR ratio, even though is peaked during the COVID-19 pandemic at 0.97. However, in 2020, it's declining to 0.54. This signifies that the company's assets are mostly owned or funded by internal capital rather than external source in the contract PT ADHI tend to maintain a stable DAR ratio at 0.81 until 0.85. The main point to be addressed in the research in the continuity between internal factor and company performance. Observed from the profitability perspective, company profit can be assessed in financial report using financial analysis as a tool for investor in decision making. This provides an opportunity for researchers to future estimate profitability in construction sector companies during the period before and during the pandemic, influenced by factors such as capital structure, company liquidity, and asset. Understanding how business operate and the financial choices companies make help us observe their response to the pandemic, while analyzing figure in financial statement provides evidence of the real impact of the pandemic on construction company. In this background section, there are both empirical motivation and theoretical empirical reasons that serve as the basis for conducting this research. Previous research indicates that factors like capital structure, liquidity, and tangibility influence a company profitability. However, there have been inconsistent findings among different researchers. So, based on the above background, the researchers interested in the conducting a study entitled "The Effect of Capital Structure, Liquidity, and Tangibility on Profitability," analysis of companies in the building construction sector listed on the IDX during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, next, I will explain to you about research question of my thesis proposal. I have 3 research questions from my thesis proposal. The first is, did capital structure can effect on profitability in the construction building sector companies listed on the IDX during the COVID-19 pandemic? The second question is, did liquidity can effect on profitability in the construction building sector companies listed on the IDX during the COVID-19 pandemic? And the last question is, did tangibility can effect on profitability in the construction building sector companies listed on IDX during the COVID-19 pandemic? Okay, in research objective of my thesis proposal, I have 3 research objectives. The first is to test the influence of capital structure on profitability of construction building sector companies listed on the IDX during the COVID-19 pandemic. The second research objective is to test the influence of liquidity on profitability of construction building sector companies listed on the IDX during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the last research objective is to test the influence of tangibility on profitability of construction building sector companies listed on the IDX during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. Next, I will explain to you about research benefit for my thesis proposal. About theoretical research benefit is providing valuable contribution to the field of finance and economics and serving as evidence regarding the influence of capital structure, liquidity, and tangibility on the profitability of companies in the construction sector list on the IDX sector stock exchange, Indonesia Stock Exchange, And practical research benefit of my thesis proposal is the first, for the company, providing contribution to construction companies in making financial decisions related to capital structure, liquidity, and tangibility, impact on profitability to achieve the company vision, mission, and objective. For the investor, providing insight and knowledge on capital structure, liquidity, and tangibility impact on profitability to investor as consideration for investing in companies within the construction sector. Okay, the second part I will explain to you about literature review from my thesis proposal. Supporting theory, I have for induct atau theoretical induct from my supporting theory about my thesis proposal. The first is pecking order theory. When taking the pecking order theory states that companies that tend to use internal funding source first, the move to debt and only consider issuing equity as a last resource to finance investment for or operational needs. This implies their preference for utilizing internal profit and loans before considering using new shares. The second support theory is signaling theory. This theory states that certain action undertaken by a company can provide signal or information to investor about the quality or true condition of the company. Next, about agency theory from supporting theory, my thesis proposal. Agency theory explains the contractual relationship between a principal and an agent, where the principal authorizes the agent to make optimal decisions that prioritize the interest and profitability of the company, aiming to minimize the burden. And the last induct about supporting theory, threat of theory, when this theory said that there is a trade-off between the benefit and cost of using debt and equity in a company's capital structure, aiming to achieve an optimal point where the benefit of debt are equivalent to its cost. Supporting theory from my variable in dependent, it is profitability independent. Profitability refers to a company ability to generate profit from sales, total asset, or its own capital. Return on asset, or ROA, is one measure of profitability that compares a company net income to its total asset. ROA assists in evaluating a company's effectiveness is utilizing its own resources. Brigham and Housen 2019. ROA is net profit divided by total assets. Next, capital structure. Capital structure refers to the mix of long-term debt and equity maintained by a company, which influence the company value through its level of return and associated risks. Capital structure in the supporting theory, it is variable dependent about my thesis proposal. Capital as a vital element in a company operation can be obtained from internal sources such as retained earning or external source like debt and equity. This capital requirement is part of the company's planning process, which may involve increasing or decreasing capital as highlighted by Bargoya 2019. DAR is total debt divided by total asset. Hypothesis development about capital structure and profitability based on the pecking order theory. Low profitability can hinder the utilization of other resources such as retaining earning and easily available resource in shaping a company's capital structure. This capital structure, consisting of internal and external funds, affect the company's value. Profitability measure like ROA depict a company ability to generate profit, while the capital structure is measured by the debt to asset ratio, or DAR. Previous research conducted by Ali 20 and 2015 found that the capital structure significantly influenced profitability, supporting the theory. So, hypothesis 1 about capital structure and profitability is capital structure has a significant positive effect on profitability. Supporting theory next is liquidity. Liquidity refers to a company's ability to meet its short-term obligation. The current ratio, or CR, is used to assess liquidity by comparing current liabilities to current assets. Good liquidity is typically indicated by a current ratio of at least 100%. A loss of liquidity might lead investors to profit short-term debt, but it can also result in investment loss and a loss of control over assets. By Hamidah et al. 2018. Current ratio is current asset divided by current liabilities. Hypothesis development from liquidity and profitability is the agency theory forms the basis of research on liquidity and profitability. Few companies' resources, patient, and capital structure based on these two main factors. Limited profitability can hinder the utilization of other resources such as long-term capital and liquid assets. Liquidity is considered crucial to a company's success and plays a vital role in business continuity. Profitability sets the performance boundaries for a company, and financial management strategies are necessary to enhance profitability for the company's sustainability. Research by Pitoyo and Lestari 2018 support a significant positive relationship between liquidity and a company profitability. So hypothesis 2 about liquidity and profitability is liquidity has a significant positive effect on profitability. Supporting theory next is tangibility. Tangibility calculated by dividing total fixed asset by total asset. Depict the extent of a company's wealth composed of fixed, current, and intangible assets measurable in monetary units. High tangibility indicate a significant amount of fixed assets, often associated with a tendency to take on debt and large liabilities. Research by Utami et al. 2018 confirmed the relationship between high tangibility and a large amount of fixed assets in companies. Tangibility is fixed asset divided by total asset. So, hypothesis development from tangibility and profitability. The signaling theory emphasizes that tangible asset can signal long-term commitment, instilling confidence in external parties regarding a company's stability, yet they can also incur related costs that act by barriers. The threat of theory stresses the balance between the benefit of tangible asset and their associated costs. Tangible assets provide certainty but can reduce flexibility and require significant investment. The relationship between asset tangibility and profitability varies, and excess of tangible asset might suppress profitability due to high costs, yet it can also enhance operational efficiency or external trust, ultimately boosting profitability. Research by Nur Satyani 2011 discovered a significant positive influence of tangibility on a company profitability. So, hypothesis 3 about tangibility and profitability is tangibility has a significant positive effect on profitability. So, in hypothesis framework of my thesis proposal, like this, you can see from my PPT. Okay, the last part I will explain to you about research method from my thesis proposal. About analysis unit. Analysis unit. Research object is capital structure, liquidity, and tangibility, and profitability. Population in my thesis proposal is construction building companies. Companies listed on the IDX for the 20 and 22 period. Sample of my thesis proposal is selected using purposive sampling method. Data collection is secondary data accessed from company website and IDX. That's true. Sample criteria from my thesis proposal is the construction building subsector companies list during the observation period from 2017 to 2022. And the second criteria is the company does not have financial report for the observation period from 2017 until 2022. Operationalization of variables. Dependent variable from my thesis proposal is ROA, or return on asset, when return on asset is net income divided total asset. Independent variables about my thesis proposal. The first is capital structure. Is there when total debt divided by total asset from Arianti 20 and 19. Second is liquidity, when current ratio is current asset divided by current liabilities. Tangibility in my independent variable measured by times when fixed assets divided by total asset. Analysis technique from my thesis proposal. The first, descriptive statistical analysis. The description of the collect data comes from the average, its mean, standard deviation, maximum value, and minimum value. Classic assumption test. The classic assumption test used in the first normal test, second multicollinearity test, and the last heteroscedasticitas test. Panel data regression analysis is yang digunakan pada tesis proposal saya. The first panel data approach CIM, PM, and RAM, and regression panel data analysis is estimation model selection like Chow test, Osman test, language multiplier test. Hypothesis testing to find out the relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. The first is determination coefficient test, second F test, and the last T test. Okay, thank you for watching and listening to my presentation regarding to proposed thesis proposal thesis that I will be researching later on. I kindly ask for your assistance and support, friends. Thank you.